Evidence versus screens. What are we teaching our children? Ladies and gentlemen, we are standing at a crossroads. One foot in tradition, the other stumbling through a flickering world of screens. And it's not an exaggeration to say this. What we choose to pass on to our children now will shape the moral spine of the next generation. Today's children are being raised not by families, not by communities, and often not even by teachers, but by algorithms, scrolling feeds, dopamine loops, influencers selling lifestyles devoid of meaning. This is not technological progress. This is moral outsourcing. We are outsourcing the development of identity to entertainment. We're handing over the sacred duty of cultivating discipline, character, and responsibility to platforms that have none of those values embedded in them. You see, values are not decorative. They're not optional. They are the principles that anchor us to reality, especially in moments of suffering, confusion, and loss. And children are hungry for these values, whether they know it or not. If we don't give them something meaningful to stand for, something else, something hollow, will take its place. This is not an anti-technology argument. Technology is a tool, but a tool without wisdom becomes a weapon. And when you give children tools before giving them values, you're not empowering them, you're disarming them. So what are we really teaching our children? Are we teaching them to think critically or to click quickly? Are we teaching them to aim towards something noble and good or to seek attention? Are we showing them how to carry responsibility or just how to escape it? If we want resilient, thoughtful, courageous young people, we need to return to the ancient truths. Truths about responsibility, sacrifice, courage, humility, and love. Yes, real love, not the kind that disappears when the battery runs out. The home must become the first university again. The family must become a source of strength again. Not perfect, but strong. Not loud, but rooted. If we don't offer our children that foundation, the noise of the world will become the only voice they hear. And that voice doesn't care about them. It only wants their attention. Let's not raise children who are merely well-informed. Let's raise children who are wise. Let's not give them everything they want. Let's give them what they need. Truth, direction, discipline, love, and the courage to face reality, not escape it. Because when values disappear, the screen doesn't go black. It just gets outer. Children do not come into the world fully formed. They arrive searching for structure, meaning, and a sense of self. This identity, the deep knowledge of who they are and how they should act, is not something they discover passively. It is something they are guided toward. And the path to that identity is lit by the values we uphold. Values act as a compass, pointing toward a meaningful life, even when circumstances are chaotic or painful. Honor, truthfulness, patience, discipline. These are not abstract virtues. They are scaffolding for the soul. They teach children how to navigate the world, not by instinct alone, but with integrity. But in today's world, the screens have become more than a distraction. They've become the primary educators. Algorithms are now shaping attention, preference, and even personality. We assume that exposure to infinite information somehow builds intelligence, but that is a dangerous illusion. A child does not grow through content consumption. They grow through imitation, struggle, and moral instruction. When the screen becomes the center of gravity in a child's life, it begins to twist their development. The constant pull of novelty trains their minds to crave stimulation, not understanding. Their identity becomes reactive, not reflective. They are formed by trends instead of traditions. The danger lies in what screens displace. A child who spends hours each day locked into digital feedback loops misses out on the slow, steady process of value formation. Instead of learning how to behave when they're angry, they're watching videos that reward outrage. Instead of learning the dignity of listening to others, they are encouraged to broadcast their opinions at all times. The screen teaches a morality of visibility. If you are seen, you matter. If not, you don't. That's not identity. That's performance. When values are replaced by virtual signals, children become detached from reality. They struggle with frustration, tolerance. They avoid responsibility. They fear being alone with their thoughts. They are more anxious, more aimless, and more easily manipulated. And this is not because they're weak, it is because we have given them tools with no instruction manual, and the tools are loud enough to drown out the quiet voice of conscience. What should be guiding them, virtue, resilience, honesty, is instead being drowned in a sea of curated noise. Values take time, effort, and example to transmit. But when we fail to pass them on, we do not raise neutral children. We raise children who are left to piece together identity from an ever-changing stream of content, and identity formed in that way is fragile, uncertain, and always at risk of falling apart under pressure. Technology in itself is neither good nor bad. It is a tool, an extension of human capability, but tools demand responsibility from those who wield them. A hammer can build a home or destroy one. A knife can prepare a meal or harm another. And so it is with the screens our children now hold in their hands. We have handed them devices more powerful than anything previous generations could have imagined. Yet we have done so with little guidance, little preparation, and far too much trust in the technology itself to do the parenting for us. Children are not born knowing how to use technology wisely. They are not equipped to navigate the endless sea of images, messages, and distractions without an anchor. They need structure, boundaries, and a moral framework long before they need an internet connection. What we've done, though, is reverse the order. We've given them the freedom of access before the foundation of character. And in doing so, we've confused exposure with education. There's a profound difference between knowing how to use a device and understanding when and why to use it. One is technical proficiency. The other is wisdom. And wisdom is what's lacking. A child can swipe through apps and follow influencers, but that doesn't mean they're learning anything of real value. If anything, they're being pulled away from the internal development required to become a stable, grounded person. They are being taught to react, to compare, to consume, not to contemplate, question, or create. The danger lies in how subtle it all is. Screens do not raise their voices. They do not argue or confront. They simply occupy space quietly, constantly. And in doing so, they displace more valuable things. Conversations, books, solitude, play, even boredom, which is essential for imagination. The more time a child spends with a screen, the less time they spend facing themselves, understanding their emotions, or learning how to live in the real world with other people. When we fail to treat technology as a tool and instead treat it as a default companion or babysitter, we invite a host of problems, not just distraction, but distortion, The screen becomes a lens through which children view everything: friendship, beauty, success, even their own worth. And if we haven't taught them how to think critically, how to differentiate truth from manipulation, how to withstand pressure rather than conform to it, then the tool becomes a teacher, and it is a teacher without empathy, without values, without any interest in the well-being of the child. Technology is powerful, but without wisdom, that power is not a gift. It is a burden, a weight children are not yet strong enough to carry alone. Freedom is one of the most celebrated ideals in modern culture, especially when it comes to raising children. We hear over and over that kids should express themselves, explore without limits, and follow their passions. But freedom without responsibility is not freedom. It's chaos in disguise. Before a child can properly handle freedom, they must be taught the disciplines that make freedom meaningful. Without the foundation of vibration and responsibility, freedom becomes overwhelming, confusing, and even dangerous. A child who is handed endless choices without any sense of consequence is not being liberated. They are being left unprepared. They might feel powerful in the moment, but they lack the structure necessary to make wise decisions. And decision-making is not instinctual. It is cultivated. Children must first learn to obey before they can truly lead themselves. They need to understand what it means to delay gratification, to fulfill obligations, to tell the truth even when it hurts, to take care of themselves and others, not because someone is watching, but because it is the right thing to do. Discipline is not oppression, it is training. It is the formation of character through repeated, often uncomfortable practices. Waking up on time, finishing what you start, saying no to easy temptations. These habits, enforced early and consistently, become internalized values. They are the roots from which real freedom grows. Because only when you are disciplined enough to rule over your impulses can you begin to choose wisely. Only when you understand limits can you appreciate liberty. The modern obsession with self-expression has pushed discipline to the background. Children are often told that how they feel in the moment is more important than what is required of them. But feelings, especially in the early stages of development, are not reliable guides. They fluctuate wildly and are easily manipulated. Teaching responsibility means helping a child distinguish between their transient emotions and their long-term duties. It means giving them a task and expecting it to be done. Not perfectly, but earnestly. Responsibility builds resilience. It teaches a child that they are capable of facing difficulty, enduring discomfort, and contributing to something beyond themselves. It protects them from the fragility that results when life becomes centered only on personal satisfaction. And when freedom finally does come, when the child grows into an adult, it is not a dangerous burden, but a noble opportunity. Because they have earned it. They have learned to bear the weight of it. Freedom is only valuable when it is anchored in the strength of responsibility. Otherwise, it collapses under the illusion of limitless choice. Children are not simply small adults. They are developing beings, constantly absorbing meaning from the world around them. They are shaped not just by what they hear and see, but by what they feel matters. And above all, they are searching for meaning. It's a hunger more powerful than entertainment, more enduring than excitement, even if they don't know how to articulate it. Children want to know who they are, why they exist, and what they are here to do. This is not just an intellectual curiosity, it's a spiritual necessity. And instead of meaning, we increasingly offer them content, endless streams of it. Images, sounds, videos, games, updates, all of it carefully designed to catch their attention, but not to satisfy their soul. The screen never runs out of things to show, but it rarely offers something worth holding on to. It keeps the mind busy, but rarely helps it grow. It tells them what's trending, what's desirable, what's entertaining, but it does not tell them what is true. And children know the difference even if they can't say it. They know when something is shallow. They may still watch it, addicted to the color and noise, but beneath that is a quiet yearning for something real. They want stories that tell the truth about courage and sacrifice. They want rules that make sense of their emotions. They want the comfort of knowing that life, even when painful, has a direction. What they need is not more distraction, but deeper purpose. When a child is given meaning, when they're shown that they are responsible for their choices, that their life matters, that there is a standard of good and evil, they come alive in a different way. They become more attentive, more confident, more grounded. They don't need to chase every new trend because they have something stable to stand on. They begin to shape their identity around something permanent, not temporary. Without meaning, however, they drift. They latch on to whatever gives them the strongest emotional response in the moment. They become more susceptible to anxiety, comparison, and despair. They try to become someone other people will approve of instead of someone they themselves can respect. That is the cost of replacing meaning with content. You end up with a child who is well entertained but deeply unsure of who they are. We cannot afford to mistake stimulation for nourishment. The mind of a child needs more than entertainment. It needs a sense of direction. And if we don't provide that, the world will. But the world isn't kind, it isn't thoughtful, and it isn't interested in their well-being. Only meaning can guide them through the noise. The family has always been the first and most important school a child will ever attend. It is in the home that a child first learns what love feels like, what rules mean, and what it is to belong to something greater than themselves. The family is where identity begins to take shape through guidance, correction, affection, and example. But today, in a world increasingly shaped by screens, platforms, and distant voices, the authority and influence of the family are being challenged and too often quietly surrendered. There is a dangerous assumption in modern life that children will somehow pick up the values they need from the world around them, that society or school or social media can fill the role once reserved for parents and guardians, but this is false. The world is not neutral. It is loud, fast, and filled with competing messages. If the family does not offer clarity and stability, the child will find meaning elsewhere, and often in places that care more about their attention than their growth. A strong family does not mean a perfect family. It means a home where principles are lived out, not just preached. Where parents understand that love is inseparable from discipline and that children crave structure even when they resist it. It means being present, not just physically, but emotionally, listening, asking questions, setting expectations, and most importantly, modeling the kind of behavior you want your children to adopt, because children don't just hear what we say, They become who we are. When a child is raised in a home where values are taught consistently and compassionately, they carry those lessons into every other part of their life. They walk into school already knowing how to respect authority. They step into friendships understanding empathy. They face challenges with a sense of inner strength that doesn't come from a screen, but from a sense of being rooted in something enduring. The family, when it holds fast to its moral responsibility, becomes a sanctuary, a training ground for life. But when families retreat, when screens become substitutes for conversations and entertainment replaces connection, the result is confusion. Children become emotionally adrift. They are surrounded by noise but lack direction. They are connected to everything but deeply grounded in nothing. The restoration of the family as a moral center is not just about tradition, it's about survival. A child needs a place where truth is not relative, where love has boundaries, and where their worth is not measured by followers or likes, but by who they are and how they live. And so, we return to the question at the heart of it all. What are we teaching our children? Not what do we say we value, not what our intentions are, but what are they actually learning from the lives we live, the priorities we set, and the tools we place in their hands. If we are not intentional, the screens will teach them. They will teach them to crave rather than commit, to consume rather than create, to react rather than reflect. But if we rise to our responsibility, if we reclaim the role of parents, mentors, and moral guides, we can teach them something infinitely more valuable. We can teach them to seek meaning over momentary pleasure, to build character before chasing success, and to stand firm in truth, even when it costs them something. Our children do not need perfect homes. They need anchored ones. They don't need endless freedom. They need purpose. They don't need more content. They need wisdom, discipline, love, and example. And those things don't come from screens, they come from us. Let us be the ones who show them the way, not with lectures, but with lives worth imitating. Thank you for your attention, for your care, and for your courage to confront these truths. May we all return to our homes, our schools, and our communities, ready to live with intention and ready to raise a generation that knows who they are and what they stand for. Goodbye, and thank you.